What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your Brewmaster-in-Chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with some Explorer content, finally. Thank you to all of you who cast your votes in the polls on the community tab on my channel. I put up a couple of polls, Alchemy, yay or nay, Explorer, yay or nay. The overwhelming downvotes came in for Alchemy, and to be honest, I'm quite happy about that because it's not my favorite format by a long stretch. And the yes votes for Explorer were not as strong as I had initially expected. It's not 50-50, but close. Explorer did win, but not by a huge margin. So I'm not going to just dive headlong into Explorer and just like completely forgo Standard. I absolutely still love Standard. I'm a Standard player at heart. But we will be doing some Explorer content. Like every now and again, I'll be dropping an Explorer deck every in between the Standard content. And tonight is one of those nights. So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's brew. I got two versions, best of one, best of three. Best of three is the one that I'm playing in the event or in the tournament that I'm taking part in. By the way, I'm undefeated so far. I will show you the best of three version and the sideboard that I have made for this deck at the end of the video, so stick around. But for tonight, we're of course just going to be playing best of one. And it's Azorius Flash. I do have to give some credit where credit is due. This is not my original list, of course. I know nothing about Explorer, so I needed to do some net decking. And this came up on my Facebook, and I just copied it, and I've had to make some adjustments because I didn't have all the cards. But I think the adjustments I've made make it better, honestly. And the guy who made it into like the top 1000 mythic with this deck is called something like the Real Killer Dub. So go give him a follow on Twitter if you want to check out his stuff. But yeah, apparently it's all over MTGA zone. I had no idea. I just saw this as a Facebook post and I copied it and made some adjustments. The initial list had 4 copies of Make Disappear. Meh, we don't have anything to sacrifice to the casualty, although it is just nice to have a 2-mana like counter target spell unless the controller pays 2. It's kind of like just a better Jwari Disruption ultimately. So I did keep some copies, but I went down to 2 and I put in a Test of Talents and some Dovin Vetoes instead. Also, the initial list had full playset of Absorb, but I only had 3 in my collection, and I had to blow all my rares and mythics on Settle the Wreckage and the Torrential Gearhulk, which we'll get to in a second. So I had to put in a Dissipate to make up for the missing copy of Absorb. Dissipate, I think, is actually really good, especially because like 1 and 2 matches is against Arclight Phoenix dexes. And if you can exile those Arclight Phoenixes, then they can't get them back from the graveyard. It's pretty damn good, of course. So I'm actually considering putting in an additional copy, but we'll test it out like this for now and see how it goes. But this is an Azorius deck, and of course we need to have lots of counter spells, and in this deck there's many. So Jwari Disruption. Also an MDFC, which brings our total land count up to 27. The initial list had 24 lands with the 2 Jwaris, and I was finding I had some trouble getting to my 6 drops soon enough, so I put in an extra land and I kept the Jwaris. But they're also just a great counter spell, and we've got 2 Make Disappears, 1 Tested Talents, 2 Dovin's Vetoes, which can't be counted. Really good against like the Mirror Match, or again against these never-ending barrage of Is It Phoenix decks that run a lot of spells as well. It can't be counted, so really nice. Which brings us to Faithful Mending, which is kind of crucial. So why is that? Because you can discard 2 cards. Also, the gain life is really nice, and the flashback is really nice. But the main thing here is we're discarding cards, and we want those cards to be in our graveyard because of the Torrential Gearhulk. So if you haven't played Explorer yet, and you don't have, like me, I only just saw this card for my first time ever, like 2 days ago. And when it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Then if that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So we want to use Faithful Mending to discard our big hits for the Torrential Gearhulk. namely Magma Opus, Sublime Epiphany, and Settle the Wreckage, which is another card I had to craft a full playset of that I had never played with. I had seen it in some other videos. Honestly, Torrential Gearhulk I had never ever seen, but Settle the Wreckage I'd seen around in other people's YouTube channels and on Facebook and things. But these are our big hits and stuff that we want to be discarding with Faithful Mending, and I'll explain why when we get to them. Onto the 3-drops, I've touched upon Dissipate. We've also got Absorb, which alongside Faithful Mending is another little bit of gaining life that we can do in the deck. What a card, especially in a control deck, Azorius control deck. Being able to counter a spell and gain a bit of life is just amazing. And it's not just a little bit, it's 3 life, it's significant. So I'm really loving that. Then, onto the 4-drops, Settle the Wreckage. Exile all attacking creatures a target player controls. This is just so good. I mean, there's so many decks that play a bunch of creatures that have no counter spells. They have really no way of dealing with this. Nothing will really help them. Tamiyo's Safekeeping, Snakeskin Veil, all of the usual, Valorous Stance, what have you. None of that stuff's going to help because it's exile. Sure, they get to put a bunch of basics onto the battlefield tapped, which is equal to the number of cards that you've exiled with Settle the Wreckage, but who cares? Oftentimes they have no way of coming back from that. These Coco decks, Collected Company decks, Selesnya, Angels, Humans, what have you, you just exile all of their attackers in one go. And that's usually the turning point in the game. Then we've got Memory Deluge, which is in standard right now. We've all seen this one. Fantastic. Getting to look at the top X cards of your library. X is the amount of mana spent to cast a spell, which means you could never, please don't ever make this mistake. I've done it in other decks where you get to cast things for free, and then I learned my mistake that time. You cannot cast Memory Deluge off of the Torrential Gearhulk when it enters the battlefield, because then you would be casting it for nothing, and you would get to look at X is 0, and you're just wasting a Memory Deluge. So, yeah, this is just in here for drawing us some cards. The initial list had 4 of. I might need to go back up to 4. I'm just not entirely sure what I would cut. I think put it down to 3 for the one-off Tested Talents. Because of the flashback, I'm finding running 3 of my flashback cards is enough. But drawing cards is obviously very important, so we may need to go back up to a 4 of. Which brings us to Rewind. What a card, what a counter spell. I forgot how good this was when I played it in Standard. Even though I was never much of a control mage, I did, dabble. And it's just amazing, especially the typical situation where this is really good and is when the opponent knows by now, by turn 4, you've countered a bunch of their stuff, that they're facing down counter spells. And the typical play from your aggro mage or mid-range mage or whatever is to try and cast something at your end step that is a must counter, and forcing you to tap out, so that then when they do untap, they might be holding a second copy of that thing, and they're you're tapped out and they can just cast it. With Rewind, that's not a problem, because you get to untap the 4 lands that you tapped to cast the spell in the first place. So then you counter the thing, and you still get to hold up mana. When they untap, you still get to counter their next thing. It's just phenomenal counter spell in the deck. Which brings us to our top end. We've got 3 copies of Sublime Epiphany, which is a crucial combo piece, because, first of all, you get to counter target spell, of course, amazing. Counter target activated or triggered ability, amazing. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, also really, really good. Resetting the opponent's planeswalkers, what have you, bouncing tokens so that they can't be recast. There's many good reasons why that's great. And then the main mode here is create a token that's a copy of a target creature you control. Of course, if you make a copy of the Torrential Gearhulk, you get to do the Torrential Gearhulk thing all over again. So if you've managed to potentially discard to Faithful Mending a Magma Opus and a Sublime Epiphany, and then you've got another Sublime Epiphany in hand, and you've cast your Torrential Gearhulk the turn before, now the opponent either goes to remove the Gearhulk or do whatever they want. You Sublime Epiphany, you get to copy the Torrential Gearhulk. Not only do you counter whatever they're casting, you get to copy the Torrential Gearhulk you have in play, which can then fetch the other Sublime Epiphany that's in your graveyard. You get to copy the Torrential Gearhulk again. You get to fetch the Magma Opus that's in your graveyard. You untap with like 3, 5, 6s and a 4/4 from the Magma Opus and just swing in for the kill. It's really, really powerful. And that's what we're going for tonight. So yeah, I mean, that's it really. You don't always have to discard the Faithful Magma Opus to Faithful Mending. It can discard itself. Also makes a treasure token when you do so, which helps you ramp into your Torrential Gearhulk. Really, really powerful. As far as the mana base goes, Explorer is crazy. We've got amazing lands available. I'm not a huge fan of the shock lands. I only have one copy of the Hallowed Fountain anyway. I think the initial list had 4, but honestly, I just do not get why people are so obsessed with shock lands. You have to pay 2 life to just get what you can just get from a deserted beach. The only difference here is that the deserted beach is just a land, whereas Hallowed Fountain is both a plains and an island. There'll be certain decks or certain cards that like specifically require you to have an island in play or what have you. For example, I mean, there's one example in this deck. Castle Vantress enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island. If all you have is a Hallowed Fountain in play, that counts as an island because it's a plain as in an island. Another example that I can think of that's not in this deck is something like Binding of the Old Gods that can search up your triomes because they are, you know, the Jund one now is Forest, Mountain, and Swamp. So you can tutor up one of your triomes with Binding of the Old Gods Chapter 2, something like that. So I can see why people are like these shock lands because there are actually the types, you know, plains and islands are on the card. But in this particular deck, it's really not that important, and you do not want to be paying 2 life for these things. There's just better options. Deserted Beach, you know, your pathways, Temple of Enlightenment also taps for both manas. Like, there's plenty of dual lands that are just better in my opinion. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm completely wrong and stupid by saying that, but that's just what I think. I can't think of another reason why anyone would want to, and why they're so expensive in paper Magic. But anyway, we've also got an Eiganjo, we've got a Castle Vantress, which allows us to scry, we've got a Horde of the Storm Giants as an alternate win con, we've got an Otawara to bounce some stuff, bunch of different duels. The Temple can scry, and then of course Fabled Passage. I'm misplaying with this. If you've got 4 basics in, or if you've got 4 lands in play, once you crack it, the land that you tutor up comes into play untapped. So really, really good. And that's it. That's the deck. Azorius Flash, best of 1 version. Let's jump into some games. Hopefully we don't run into like Arclight Phoenix and Parhelion Greasefang combo decks in a row. My best of 3 list obviously has a sideboard that is perfect for those matchups, so stick around. I'll show you guys the best of 3 list at the end of tonight's gameplay footage. Dwazzle. Woozle? Dwazzle? Alright. Life gain. Okay, so it's one of these Coco decks. Pretty cool. Absorb off the top. Perfect. Let's hope we hit a land. Yes, please, baby. So we get to rewind and discard the Magma Opus. We may have Coco up now, Collected Company. No? Nice. Playing well so far. This deck really struggles against mine. If I can get the counter spells lined up nicely and we don't like brick out, then it's just a disaster for them. It's just like Angel's life gain nonsense. Sure, fine, no problem. We've got to Settle the Wreckage. I'm gonna hold this up for Collected Company. Perfect. We're up to 6 mana. Now we can Sublime Epiphany and things. Really nice. Still haven't found a single Gearhulk. I'm just gonna do it now. Get rid of that Valkyrie. No way they run that in the main. Nasty. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, they run unlicensed first in the main. I guess it's best of one. That's why. Disgusting. Took out our Opus. That's a huge problem. I cannot believe they're running that. The one card that fucks up our whole plan. Where's the Gearhulk? Disgusting. The guy's really playing well. He just got me so good. Unbelievable. There you are. Better late than never. But it is probably too late. Nah, although... in response to the hearse... I wish we had. Bam. 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 Now, oh, I don't know how we're gonna do this. I mean, I have an idea. We have to bounce this. I think we're still dead, right? Nah. Three, four, yeah. How can we... I don't have any... In my sideboard in the best of 3, I have artifact removal. In this version, I don't know how we're supposed to deal with this. Jeez. What a nightmare. Well, we've lost this one, for sure. Guaranteed, like... We needed the Settle the Wreckage, and he's always just going to tap the Unlicensed Hearst at the beginning of his turn, so... I was hoping to top deck another one. We're dead. Unbelievable. This card is so strong. It's become like a staple in all of these non-rotating formats because of that. We're just screwed. Again. So annoying, man. Oh my god. I mean, in best of 3, they never run it in the main board. And then they side it in, and then I get to side in my Unlicensed Hearst removal. In best of 1, this is the first time I've come across one of these Coco deck players that actually put it in, and it's just completely destroyed my plan. I mean, whatever, we'll just do the thing for whatever reason. I don't know. Yeah. Disgusting card. Unbelievable. Cannot believe we just lost to that. Oh my god. Ah. Well played, opponent. Really well played. Good idea to have that in your main board on best of 1, like right now in this format. And my deck isn't the only like perfect counter to you run that against the Parhelion Greasefang decks and anyone who's trying to do anything with the graveyard. Just play an Unlicensed Hearst and bye bye. I may need to put some artifact and enchantment removal in my sideboard. In my main deck, in the best of one version here. This time we need to hold up the mana for a counter. Alright. Bit of a redeemer in the last game. Ooh, got a pack. Wild card, please. Okay, that's my 4th copy. Nice. By the way, guys, those of you who do play Explorer and know the format better than me, please let me know where my 11,000 gold is best employed. Like, which packs should I buy? There's so many, and I'm lost. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's gonna take me a little while to wrap my head around this. Yeah, that's terrible. Sure. Wow, it's been a while since I've seen the tome, huh? Cool. Missed this card. Autumn. Got him. Also really missed the giant. What a cool card. Damn it, I was hoping for a tapped land, an untapped land there. That's a problem. We don't have a counter spell now. That's okay. Wow, this was such a fun card, especially with when the Ozolith wasn't standard. Now making land drops is a huge problem in this deck. At least we got the Veto. Okay. Thin the deck a little bit. We'll fetch a white source. Wonder. Are you kidding me, man? Where's my lands? Come on, dude. Really? Seems to be something like Selesnya enchantments, maybe. I have no idea what's cracking in this format. Like, it's just everything's a surprise, which is great, honestly. For life. Woo. This is insane. Bricking out completely. If I don't find a land next turn, I'm gonna be so bummed. Up to 28. Oh! Okay, in this case, I'm paying the 2 life. I don't want to burn my treasure. Field of Ruin, number 2. Giants? Maybe? Giant tribal? Fine. What does he get? Huh? Okay. Now we're talking. You control it, now you draw a card. Doesn't have a creature with power 4 or greater. Let's fetch a blue or a white. Nice. Another land. He's got like Fateful Absence or something. We've got the backup Gearhulk, which is groovy. Okay, we're in business now. Life is good. I don't have anything that I really want in the yard, so it's okay. I'll just make another 4/4. No particular reason. Now we've got the Epiphany in the yard. We can flash in another Gearhulk. And, yeah, GG's. Hee hee, we got him. It's okay, nothing to do here. Yes! So that's really the main freaking win con there. I mean, amazing stuff, right? Definitely giant tribal. Cool. On to the next one. And we've arrived at the final match of the night, so let's try and win this one. Hopefully nobody running unlicensed Hearsts in the main. We've been lucky and dodged all of the Is It Phoenix decks up until now, so I'm ready to bet that it's going to be Is It Phoenix coming up next. It's a really fun matchup, like control matchup, like grindy ass long games with lots of decisions and like when it is best to use your resources. It's super interesting kind of a match, but I think they're slightly favored. That's a great hand. Uh-oh, on a red. If we don't need to counter something with the Jwari, having 2 blue means we can discard the Magma Opus. If we had the white, you need 2, either blue or red, to do the thing. Do we care about this? Yeah. Gearhulk number 2. Blah 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 blah. Blitzed in. So far, standard cards only. The guy get the wrong cue. You can just easily just deluge, but we can pretend we have a counter spell up. Okay, we're in Gearhulk range. Although... yeah, okay, let's just Gearhulk. Save those wreckages for another time. It's a high probability that they have some removal. Juicy. And we got another land, so we can play another Gearhulk. Sorry! Gotcha! Yes! Alright, guys. That's it. I think we've done everything that this deck can do. I mean, it's a pretty simple strategy. Just counter everything, settle the wreckage against aggro, and then you just need to get up to 6 mana, and you do degenerate stuff with the Torrential Gearhulk. So that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it already, you're welcome. Especially those of you who are into your control decks. It's a freaking house, this thing. I'm beating people up and down on the ladder. But as promised, let's go into the best of 3 here so that I can show you the sideboard that I came up with for the tournament I'm playing in. Slightly different. We've got 2 Dissipates, 2 Absorbs. I may just do this, but I can't edit it right now because I've already submitted the deck list. So the Test of Talents are not in the main. I've got 2 Dovin's Veto, 2 Make Disappear, 2 Jwaris. The 3 Faithful Mendings are the same. These are 4 ofs instead of 3 ofs. Everything else is exactly the same. There's only 24 lands in this version, which is a huge problem. Actually, in you know, while I've been playing the best of 3 version, that's why I made the best of 1 different. When I remake the deck, best of 3, if I had a chance to resubmit, I would go up the additional land and make those adjustments to the main board as I have in the best of 1 version. But so as live, you'll see also there's no giant land thing. The Hall of the Storm Giants is not there. So yeah, there's the best of 1 version is kind of like the 2.0 upgrade to this original list that I made, and unfortunately I've already submitted it for the tournament, but what can you do? But we're here for the sideboard. I've got 2 Tested Talents in the side, I've got 2 Unlicensed Hearst in the side, then Mystical Dispute is, I'd forgotten how toxic this card is, especially in the mirror, or like against, there's just so many blue spells, and you can just cast it for 1 mana, and the opponent has to pay 3 to get around it. Really good. Then I've got 2 Heliod Interventions for the opponent's Unlicensed Hearsts, and also just for life gain. It's been really good. Also, I put in 2 Dream Trawlers, which don't really fit the deck. You know, it's not flash or anything like that, but just having that, like, really hard to remove flying lifelinker guys that you can side in against certain decks, like especially mono red aggro, stuff like that, has been phenomenal. It's really changed games around. And then I've gone for like 1 Creative Outburst, where I like take out 1 Opus and go up 1 Outburst. Whoops. Because, you know, it's just another sweet hit on the Gearhulk, and you can go 5 damage to face. Oops. Hello? There. And then 2 Shark Typhoons, because we've got some really expensive spells that we're casting, and we make some huge sharks. And that's my best of 3 sideboard for this deck. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love your thoughts, of course, always. And come on, join the Discord community. There's a link in the description, as well as the pinned top comment, where we can discuss things further. And if you have your own deck ideas and things, I'd love to see them and talk about them. We're starting to grow nicely in the Discord as well. There's a bunch of other guys over there that are just as much into brewing as I am, and it's a fun time. So that's going to be it for tonight's gameplay footage. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all tomorrow with some fresh brews. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.